Welcome to Keiser Voices, the story of success, brought to you by Keiser University Graduate School, here where the academic world meets personal triumph. Join us today as we dive into the captivating tales of success.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Keiser's Voices. We're excited today to continue our conversation for Women's History Month. And today we're really taking a moment to look at a legacy of learning and how women are shaping education and opportunities. And joining us today is Dr. Kelly Moore, the campus president from Fort Lauderdale of Keiser University. Welcome, Dr. Moore.
Thank you so much for having me. I am very excited to be and honored to be participating in the conversation today about this important topic.
And it is. And I think to start the conversation, don't get upset with me. How long have you worked in higher education?
It's coming on close to 25 years, but if I add in my work while I was an undergrad, it's even longer. So I paid my way through college, and I was able to start working during my undergrad years for the university that I went to.
Can you share, just to kick it off, how your own educational journey shaped the person you are today and influenced your career path?
Yeah, that's such an important question, an interesting question, I hope, for our listeners and viewers. My grandparents and my parents did not have the means to attend college. And so for us growing up, for me and my siblings, it was very important for them that we were able to participate and attend college to achieve our goals. I have an insatiable curiosity and I love to learn. So education was kind of this easy pathway for me, loved being in school. And when I was in my undergraduate years, I had a very special mentor to me when I was a student leader. And we were working on a leadership program and putting it together. And she asked me one day, she's like, "So what are you going to do when you graduate?" And I looked at her and I went, "I don't know." And she said, "You can get paid for what you're volunteering doing right now." And I went, "Really?" And she goes, "Yeah." She goes, "Are we working on this together?" And I went, "Yeah." And she said, "What's your portion of this event?" And so I told her, and she said, "What's my portion of the event?" And I told her. And then she said, "Are you getting paid for this?" And I went, "No." And then she looked at me and she went, "Am I getting paid for this?" And I went, "Oh, okay." So it sort of then set the path and it completely changed my direction. Not my academic major, but what I did with that between the classes that I then took to finish my major and what I did extracurricularly within the institution. And I've been lucky enough to work at a variety of different types of post-secondary educational institutions. And early on in my career, I had an opportunity to run and lead a career-focused post-secondary institution and fell in love with career-focused education. And looking back at education, I found that opportunity to be in small classrooms and have that direct connection with a faculty member really meant a lot to me. And being able to connect that academic journey to that career path was important. And once I found career-focused education like Keiser University does, I've never left.
No, that's amazing. What was it that finally got you to pursue your doctorate? I ask because not that many, it's like 3-4% of the population has a doctorate.
Yeah. So I was at the time I was the campus president for an institution and we were offering baccalaureate degrees. And so we wanted and we're then starting to expand into offering master credential programs. And then there was a push at the time to talk about offering doctoral level programs. And I knew at that point that, again, that insatiable curiosity wanted to continue to do more, learn more, be exposed to different thought processes and um, different things that were happening in the world of higher education.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the impetus to go on and do that.
That's amazing. When we look at women contributing to advancements in education, either as an educator or as a learner, what impact does this have on society?
It's huge. And I am not a historian, but my Bachelor of Arts is in history. So I look back on where has the role of women been and what have women done over the centuries. And I look back, and in ancient civilization, formal education was really reserved for men. The Egyptian time period did allow for some women to play a role in that, but you really didn't see that. And then in the medieval and Renaissance periods, the 5th to the 15th century, education for women was really restricted to religious settings or for noble women. And access for women to education really didn't occur in a structured format until the mid to late 1800s. And so as I think about that and I look at that, in a very short amount of time, I think that women have made significant contributions in the field. And from an educator perspective, I look at what women are doing, and women have evolved into leadership roles and role models. So you'll look at school principals and women filling in that role. You'll look at university professors and women serving in those capacities. You'll see women as heads of educational organizations, nonprofit entities that work in the field or very closely aligned with post-secondary educational institutions. You'll see women as chancellors and as college and university presidents that are out there. So you see a variety of different career paths that didn't exist before. You didn't see women in those roles. When I also think of women as educators, I also think that they bring a special touch to how they run their classrooms from an innovative teaching methods. And they have, just because of how culturally they've been raised for generations, the ability to connect with students. And it's not to say that men can't. I think men do as well. But as you expand what's happening, I really see them being able to connect to students in a different way that allows the students to be successful. And then women now are being able to contribute to research and curriculum development, and are being in positions where we haven't seen them previously.
Mm. Where do educators come into this conversation, especially when it comes to looking at inspiring young women to pursue these different fields, especially those that are traditionally male dominated? Because I feel that the educators are going to be the ones to truly be that mentor, that leader to push them forward.
Yeah, it's when I think about your question here, I really look at what they can almost do to give back. And we can see that, and this I think ties into your previous question as well. I think showcasing as role models and mentors, highlighting those that have gone before provides a path for others. So if somebody thinks, oh, well, I can't do this, I'm really struggling with this, individuals that have done this and have been in those positions, they can see that, oh, somebody has done that before. And it may not be the exact same pathway, but knowing that someone has come before them and has done some of that innovative work or has taken the lead on that path and sort of made it a path that's a little easier for them to do, I think makes it easier. So that first woman that has done something, maybe that trailblazer, and then that pathway, that road, it may not be completely paved, but it's getting to that point. Women and educators, to inspire young women to pursue fields. Also really look at creating an inclusive environment, an inclusive learning environment. And when I talk about that, I really mean that take into account the personalized approach where how each person learns and feed into that to allow those individuals to really look at how they can contribute and how they can participate. And we've really seen a shift from how those educational classrooms look, and students really appreciate a hands-on learning environment and a real-world application. So if you're promoting that and you're giving a student a real life problem to solve that they can sink their teeth into, then it's going to generate that creativity, and it's going to develop those juices for and really enhance that curiosity to want to do more. Additionally, we really need to focus on encouraging problem solving and critical thinking, and I think those are self-explanatory. But the other piece is providing early exposure. So what a person looks at on a daily basis, they may not have the opportunity or even know that those pieces are out there. So how do we make sure that they even know about those things, and have an opportunity to learn about it or try it out or even know that that exists? And so that's probably one of those most important pieces, is to start young. And then really supporting a growth mindset. So don't close yourself off to even thinking about it or considering it, giving that opportunity. Well, let's try it. Let's see if this works. Let's see if this fits. What do I like about it? What do I don't like about it? And then creating that supportive environment. And I want to go back to the question that you asked me earlier about how women are contributing to advancements in education, and looking at that both as an educator and a learner and the impact that that has on society. We talked a little bit about the educational piece of that, but we really didn't get into the learner piece or the societal impact. And from a learner perspective, obviously it increases educational attainment. So you mentioned it previously, there's, a small percentage of people that have earned a doctoral level degree. But from a learner perspective, it's also breaking stereotypes and barriers, and allows people to move into fields that may all look the same or even think the same. And so that multidimensional learning contribution to the field or industry allows that industry to continue to be innovative, to consider things that weren't necessarily there to begin with, and creates opportunities for those organizations and businesses to do things that they were never able to do. And women can bring in that different shape, that different thought process. And, two heads are better than one when you're trying to solve a problem. And when you bring individuals of different experiences and backgrounds to be able to talk about things, you get deeper ideas and perspectives that can broaden the problem solving to items that are out there. And part of what we've also seen now is that women are taking advantage of that. And we've seen a little bit of a shift. So at the very beginning, I mentioned how women didn't have access to that education. And now they represent the majority of students that are working on and obtaining a post-secondary education credential, and have and are now 56%, as of 2023, are now 56%. Women represent 56% of the college-going student population. And finally, from a societal impact, um, there's an economic empowerment. So the more people that are exposed to an education, and the more that women are exposed to an education, the more likely they're going to continue to contribute to the workforce and economic mobility. Um, there's a social change that may also come with that, where they can raise awareness on a variety of different topics. And then finally, um, the last two, health and well-being. We know that there is significant research that education is directly linked to improve health outcomes. So for us as a country and a community, the more that women are educated, the better off that not only they themselves are, but that other people are, and they pass that on generationally. So if they went and got a college degree or a college credential, then the likelihood that they're going to pass that on to their children, and that prioritizing that, it creates that cycle.
That's amazing. And we definitely have seen, like you pointed out, like these changes, these shifts where we go from education not being an option to it now being female driven. But there are still barriers to overcome. There's still moments of doubt that we see with young women and girls. What changes, should there be, or even just, what you would like to see in education that would better support and empower these young women and girls to, around the world to continue their educational pursuits?
You're exactly right. There have been a lot of significant improvements and changes, but there's still some other things that we need to focus on and that we need to do. The first of which is to ensure equal access to education. And when I'm talking about that, I'm really talking about especially in rural and underserved areas. If you're in large major metropolitan areas, those support structures and that access is in place. But we haven't done that throughout the country. And that's something, or even around the world. And that's something that I think we need to do. The other thing that I think we need to potentially take a look at is possibly gender bias in curriculum. And so really looking at teaching materials and teaching materials that avoid stereotypes in a variety of different ways. Pictures tell 1,000 words, or something along. I think I got that saying. I didn't think I got that saying right. But when you're looking at pictures and you're looking at depictions, can a person see themselves in that role? And even if that person in that textbook or in that video or in education materials can see that, then I think that that's important, because I think that helps that. Encouraging STEM education for girls, and we have to start young. So it's those pieces of when you walk down a toy aisle, what do we see for children to be able to play with? And then as they start to do that, can they see themselves in those roles? And can that be something that we can then build on to continue to support? The other piece, though, is that not just from an educational perspective, and it is an educational piece, but when I think about this, I like to support people holistically. And so some of the other things that I would like to consider is teaching life skills and financial literacy. So tools like communication, leadership, that financial literacy piece allows a woman or a young adult to then thrive in a personal and professional sphere you have to take care of the whole person. You can't just say, okay, here, this is what you're going to do and how you're going to do it, and just focus on the curriculum or the subject matter expertise that you're developing. I think you need to also develop the person holistically so that as they're developing all that subject matter expertise and are moving into positions and into areas and fields where they may not see a lot of other women, how do we then support that? And looking at the person holistically allows them to develop those skill sets so that they can manage those environments. I'm also a big one where looking at fostering collaborative education. Competition is good. I'm all about competition, but finding ways on how to collaborate to bring people to the table and support all of the people that are around the table. And then finally, loads and loads and loads of encouragement. Everybody does better when they have a champion in their corner, sitting on their shoulder, cheering them on to cross that finish line, knowing that that journey is going to have moments where it's tough to take that, to continue to take that step, and those having those people that are there to continue to provide encouragement, to say, hey, you need to pursue your passion. You need to pursue your dreams, regardless of the field. I think that will go a long way.
No, I agree, because I know for me, I'm going to throw in a story because it just happened. And it's so funny that you said that. There are areas I'm confident in, and then there's areas I'm not confident in, right? I think we all have that about ourselves. We have those moments of doubts if we can do something or not. And I have somebody who's been like a real big cheerleader for me. And so I did something, I gave a speech off. I wasn't prepared for it, but I gave a speech, and I was like, I walked away like feeling so good about it. And I don't know that had it not been for this person that's been cheering me along, I don't know that I would have felt the same way. Having the confidence to give a last minute speech to a group of students. It was a group of students. We have brand new students and students getting ready to graduate. But I was so proud of myself. And I actually took a minute and I sent a quick text message once I got home. I was like, thank you so much. This is what I just did. And I'm so proud of myself. And if had it not been for your support, I don't know that I would have done it.
Yeah. And that's thank you so much for sharing. And to your point, I don't think we share enough of that. I don't think we have conversations like that where, what can I do to support you, to help you? What do you need? So that you can feel confident. Yeah, you're going to have nerves, but that's okay. Mm-hmm. But how do you feel confident to go, you know what, I'm going to try that? And that also speaks to that growth mindset. Okay, maybe I'm not as confident, but let me try it. Let me see what I can do to get better. And having that support system and that encouragement, I think goes a long way to continue to help people achieve their dreams and to focus on their passions.
So we're taking up a lot of your time and having a really great conversation. But what advice would you give to women who aspire to make a difference in education, whether it be teaching, being a professor, administrators, even advocates? What advice do you have for them?
Well, thank you for even thinking that that I'm in this position to give advice. Again, going back to that encouragement type of thing. And I think it goes back to believing in yourself and your ability to lead. Everybody can play a role and do something that will make a difference. And staying committed to lifelong learning. We really want to have that growth mindset. We want to feed that curiosity, and we don't want to become stagnant. For that encouragement piece, building that support network, find the people that are going to be willing to support you. The one that's sort of that taskmaster, nope, go do this, get this done by this date, to the person that's like that true cheerleader. You can do this. I know you've got this in you. So find those people that are going to be in your corner for you. I also think passion plays a lot in it. If you find your passion in that appropriate role, focus on it. If you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life, is sort of that thing. Build some resiliency skills. Like I said, that path may not always be flat and smooth and even, and we're going to have hiccups along the way. So, we need to be able to pick ourselves off, dust off our shoulders, and continue on moving forward. And then really empower the next generation. Somebody was a mentor to me that put me on my path. It's my turn to pay that forward and do that for somebody else. And then finally, I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't believe with my heart and soul that education is one of the most powerful tools we have to transform the world, and really believing in that when we provide those educational opportunities, we are creating a new generation of people that can do all of those great things.
Some amazing advice out there for our listeners. Well, Dr. Moore, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your legacy of learning with us.
Thank you so much for the invitation to do this. I had fun, and I hope that people can take one or two nuggets from our conversation today.
That's always our goal. So if you guys have liked this conversation, please be sure to like, share, subscribe, follow as we continue celebrating Women's History Month and we continue having some great conversations on this podcast. Thank you, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you for journeying with us today on Keiser Voices, the Story of Success. As we close this chapter, remember, every story has its next page.